Okay, so far we have seen like the basics of SOQL, how to write the queries, where all we can write the SOQL query, and some keywords that we use in the SOQL queries, and then what is group by and what actually it does. And actually on the other day, we are trying to look for some examples, and we are trying to do on button click, we're trying to change the query. So there we're using a different methods and trying to execute a static queries. And in the other example, we're trying to give a filters and apply a dynamic filters using a dynamic query. So whereas on the we're trying to make the filters dependable. So let me show if you guys recollect or not. So already logged in. So once you have a developer console, there we're trying to dynamic query, right? Your dynamic query example page. So here, all we're trying with let's try a new example, which has to be, let's say I have a customer channel and do a search. There I was expecting only biotechnology, construction and consulting, transportation, only 4 values. Whereas here I have all the values. So I want to make this drop-down values dependable on the account type. Then only it has to display the valid industries. And then on selection, basically on selection of account type, it has to show the industry. That's all I'm wanted to do. Fine. So currently what I'm doing here. So here, like I was hard coding the values over here. It's not purely dynamic, and even there are some values changing also. We cannot change here. So let's make it a dynamic from a code, this drop down values.
Can I
And
ask you a quick
yeah,
wala?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so what I was thinking is, if we create a field dependency, is it possible what you're trying to do right now with code, we can do that without writing code if we just add the field dependencies? Is that possible?
Yeah, we can do.
Okay.
But sometimes there might be a scenario, right? So even though we don't have a field dependency also, we have to build such logics without creating a fields and field dependency. You might need to implement in the only for a specific page. So for those scenarios, I'm trying to write a code. Yes, obviously we can use a field dependency on the field side, and we can directly use the fields over here. Okay. Okay. So let's write a code and replicate the field dependency, how it will work, and then this drop downs also I want to make it dynamic to the data based on my data. And from your example, what is the drawback was, even though it is field dependency, we're going to show all the values from the pick list. It's not going to be a values from the data. So let's say in another day I'm explaining. Let's say in your pick list you're having 100 values, and in your data you're having only 3 or 4 values. So again, it doesn't make sense to show 100 values over here. So all I was expecting was what the data I'm having, the same filters I has to show if it is having a data, or if it is not having a data, I will not show, so that it will not. So if I don't have energy over here, so let's say if I select energy and search, what will happen? There's no results, which is then making me a sense. So what I'm trying to do was um, show the valid values so that I can filter only the possible data. So that was I was trying to achieve. And okay, let's start writing. So maybe mostly we'll use most of the code from here and create a new class. Um, dependent, dependent pick list example. So in the same place we are trying to um, I'm trying to explain the aggregate query as well. So okay, I have account list and account type selected. This is also fine. What should be my first step? First of all, I need to remove this drop down values from a VF page, and I need to create a list options on a Apex side. What is the data type? Can someone help me here? Public list of select option. So one is account type options. I'm just giving a name, and I need to have one more is industry options. Industry options. Okay, done. And then
So Bala, we are giving data type as a select option here, right? So we are going to add both the values in this.
yeah. So here we see this drop down what we did in the previous example. If you look at the VF page, we directly give the select options from the page, and they are like a hardcore values. We cannot control them. So what I'm trying to do was these options I will give from a Apex code, and I will add the values from my logic. So if we do something, then only show these values. Like this, I want to control. So that first thing was I need to move these values to a Apex. So that I need to have a list of select options. So that then only I will use this variable to display the pick list values. Okay. This answers your question. Or first, I'm going to initialize here.
Yes, but
Okay. Select options. First, I'm initializing with a blank value. That is two data types. So I was doing this before I'm calling this search accounts method, and I want to have a select option value equal to what is the constructor of a select option value label or label value.
Label value.
Okay. label and followed by a value. So I want to add this values to it, first default values. Okay, and then now everything will be the same only, but um, from the result, whatever I have in the account list. So I do a query and then I'll get the result, right? Once I have this result, from this result, I want to make sure that I'm going to have a unique, um, what would say, mm, unique values of this data for the industry and the account type. So there are two ways of doing it. One is writing an aggregate query, and other is you can directly use this data and you can create a set values and loop this values and add values to this select option. So I want to explain the aggregate queries. So I will write a new method with the aggregate query. I want to display here. Okay. So I would say populate populate drop down. Populate drop downs. I'm saying over here. First thing was I want to populate the account types. So what I can do, first thing I want to get a unique values of a account type. Okay. So first thing was I need to write a aggregate query group by a account type on the account. First I will write a query, select type from account group by type. So I have the query. So but when we have aggregate queries, the result will be in a new data type called a aggregate result. So this is a new data type called a aggregate result, and I'm going to write this aggregate query and assign the data to the aggregate result. Okay. So I'm having only the one aggregation called a type. So when we have this query, so just I will keep the workbench open and monitor what should be the result and how we are going to extract it. So I have this query. So I have three values. One is a blank values, other one is a customer direct and customer channel. Okay, so already I'm having a blank value already added in the constructor itself. So here, next thing I want to So I want to call this method to populate the other values. So here first thing was I have three values. One is null and the other two are the values. So for what I will do was I want to only aggregate the not null values where type not equal to null group by type, so that I can skip the null values. So if you look at the query and new query, so that we will not get this blank value with this condition. Okay, have only the two values. Fine. Now I have to extract the each value into a drop down. How I can do that? So first thing, the data type of it, the aggregate result was the result of this query is a aggregate result. So how to extract the value from a aggregate result? So first thing was we need to make a for loop to iterate any data type which is in the loop, and the loop variable has to be same data type, and it has to be iterated over the array colon array. This is the for loop, and in this for loop what we're trying to do was string ACC type equal to, so what is going to value from AR. So in this each row we're trying to get, so this data type is type, so we're trying to get the type from the each thing. We're trying to get the value type, so we have to assign like this. But thing was, when we get this value, we have to, it could be any data type, or like it would say it could be a object data type. So we have to convert this data type to a string first of all, then only it will be allowed to assign it to a string value. So once it is done, the next part was, so I have the type value. Next, what we have to do was we have to add this value to my pick list or a select options list. So what is the select options list? Account type options. So I'm going to add account options dot add. So I'm going to add a new value. What is this new value? The new select option, new select option, and the constructor is going to be a label comma value. So here both label and value are both are same. Just I'm going to give a label comma value. So all together what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to get a unique values of type using an aggregate query, and I'm excluding the where condition where type equal to not null and group by, and I'm copying this result to a aggregate result. So all aggregate queries or group queries result will be a aggregate result, and I'm trying to loop this aggregate result, and then once I have aggregate result, we have to use this get method to get the each values from this query. So I have a type, so I'm extracting a type, and once you get this value, it could be any data type. So we cannot assign directly to the value. So we have to first convert this to a whatever the data type it is. So for the string data type, we are converting it to a string and assigning it to a string. And once it is extracted, then we are adding it to a select option. Okay, fine. Now we have one. Let's create a VF page. Any questions so far? Everything is going to be the same, and the control will be different. And here, instead of all these values, we'll be having a select options, and here the value would be whatever the account type options. I need to give this value. Remaining all are same only. So let's preview this page. So far what I did only the account type as um, account type as a dynamic value. So the constructor is first value followed by the label. So first value, then followed by the label. So here I make only the account type as a account type only the dynamic value. This one or this one. And I want to make the industry also dynamic, and I want to remove the values. So here, what I want to do here again, I want to use the industry options instead of all these hardcode values. So I'm removing all these hardcode values. I'm going to use this industry options. Okay, so both are dynamic now, but still I need to populate the values for the industries. Why? Because it's null only. Have account type. Once I click on the account type, then only I want to populate the industry type. So how I can do that? Can anyone tell me? First thing, I need to have a method. Once I have selected a type, then I need to um, write the method to populate the industry. So here, populate say type drop down. Okay, it is done. Then next method would be populate industry drop down. So what we're trying to do here? Here this time we're going to group with the industry, and industry not equal to null, group by industry, and same thing here. Instead of type, we're going to have an industry, and this would be a industry, and I'm going to add this industry as a constructor, and this should be a industry options at the end. So this is all I'm going to do. So, but there one thing we're missing. What is that? We should not add all values. So we have to only whatever the selected type, in that selected type, what all the values we having, we have to give only that value. So type is type selected. The type equal to type selected, and then group by industry. Okay. Any questions over here so far? So we have this method. So what we'll do, we'll call this method like whenever we have a like type drop downs are populated. Okay, fine. Now still we have the uncompleted code. Why? Because we don't have a values, or we have values because by default we have selected as a like a blank value. So when we have a blank value and do a search, it's not going to be applied. And when I select a customer direct and do a search, this is not dynamic. So whenever I make a change to the account type, on the time only, I want to populate these values. Otherwise, I don't want to populate. So, so don't do it here. This method has to be called when there is a account type selection is happened. So where I have account type, this is being selected on the time only. The method has to be called. But from like how I can call the methods only from a command button only, I can call the Apex methods. So how I can call from a on pick list change. So there is a feature called action support. So using this action support, we can give the tags which are not having a capability of calling a method. We can provide the capability. So using the action support, we can mention the event, what actually the event was. So let's say on click the my event is, and my action has to be called as populate industry dropdowns. Populate industry dropdowns. So I have this one. So then and save. So this being saved. And now we select the direct customer direct. Now you have all the values that are from a customer direct. So what is happening now? So this list was not reflecting. Only this drop down is reflecting. So if I select a appeal and such, so you have the values. For each value, you will be having at least one value. It will be not a blank values. And you don't see all the values also. If you select, okay, so there is a actually wrong one. It is calling every time I do a click. See, immediately when I do a click, it is getting changed. So instead of on click, I will do on change, so that it will not bother me. And again, on every time I do a change, what I'm doing, I was purely doing a add. So it could add any number of times. It's not a like what I would say. It is not emptying the existing list. Every time what it's doing, it is repeating the list. So what I have to do first thing was I have to initialize with the blank value and then only add the fresh values. So I would do a blank and then add a dummy value and followed by whatever the values I'm getting from the aggregate result. I will add only those values. Okay, and now let's see. Refresh. Okay, I do a customer direct. I have some values. I do a customer channel. I have new values. So it is not doing on click itself. Only when I do a change, on the change only, it will be showing us. Okay, so this is how we can do a dependent dependent pick list, and based on the selected value only we can populate the next drop down by using a action support tag in a select option tags. Okay, in select list, we're going to use a action support to call the apex method and populate the values dynamically. So any questions we have here?
Uh, yeah, I have one. So there was this last step you did, right? Um, After doing it, yeah, this one. What was this? You said you are initializing it to a blank
Yeah.
value.
So let's say I don't have these two lines. So add what actually we're doing here. Whenever this method is getting called, we're running the aggregate query, and whatever the values in the aggregate query, we're trying to add in the options. So what we're doing, so we are not checking what is the existing values. Let's say now I have a four values, and I had um, um just have I selected a customer direct, and whatever there in the options, I will getting those options. If I make a change, it will again called, and on top of it, it will add a new values. I have previous values and I have new values. If I again change to the direct, again it will add a on top of it. So this list will grow, and this is a duplicate values also there. It will keep on growing. So that is not my expectation. My expectation is only I want to see whatever the value I select, I want to see only those values. So I cannot increase like this. So what I'm trying to do, so once I call this method, I'm just removing all the values and just, so I'm not using a clear and all. So I'm using this new list option to a none value. So just I'm adding a none value as a default. So what are the values in there? It will be removed, and just it will be holding only one value saying a none value. And on top of it, whatever I'm getting a result from this query, I'm adding it
Okay.
so that it will not be duplicating again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Well, can you refresh this VF page?
Okay.
Okay. So as initial step, we will see all the records here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can change this logic further also. Like if you want to only see, there's a none means only if you want to see the blank values, then you have to call this two methods and then followed by this one. And here we adding this condition, right? When it's a null or blank, we're not applying any filter. If you remove the filter and just apply, then you will not get any results. Like you will get only results which are blank values for these two fields.
No. Yeah.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah.
Now I want to explain something called other methods. So in group by, just we have seen only the grouped values. If we have any aggregate result from it, we want to see the what is the, if you have any like annual revenue, we want to see the maximum of annual revenue, how we can. So if I select a customer direct, in the customer direct, I want to show the which is the max value in the annual revenue, how I can get that value. Of that industry here, along with that we can use a max of annual revenue, and we'll call it as a revenue, and we want to get this. I'm not using anywhere, just for explaining. I was just using. So what is this data type of annual revenue? It's a decimal, right? And we are getting a maximum of that revenue. Again, it will be a decimal. So we should have a decimal data type to extract the value from. So AR dot get revenue, and the data type of it should be a decimal data type. And just I wanted to debug and show you what is this max value. Just keep it separate so that you not. So whenever we have this drop down getting called, we can see it. So I have account direct and do a search. So here the max value is this one, um, 5600.